Taro, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whatever time of day it is, I pray that your mind, your heart, your body, and your soul are all poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. You know, when I was a school teacher, one of the few things that would have me contemplating just jumping out of the third story window would be standing up and giving a lesson, right? Introducing a lesson, 15, 20 minutes, writing notes on the board, explaining what we're doing, why we're doing it, pointing out, which sections of the book, chapters, where we are and when it's due and what I expect. And after that 15, 20 minute explanation, someone immediately raises their hand. I said, "You, Abeni." Student says, "What did you say?" Or, "What page again?" Or, "I don't have a pencil." Those would be the times where I just want to say, "Hold on one second," and just open the window and and I understand the mindset, right? In all sincerity, a lot of the times, my students who ask those kinds of questions, these are students who are really compliance oriented. They want to make sure that they have the right information. They want to make sure that they're doing the right thing. They want to make sure that they don't get in trouble, that they don't miss something, right? But it's a compliance oriented mindset. Okay. And I'm going to get into the full lesson, but what I want you to understand to start it off is that I'm making a distinction between compliance and service. Compliance is good, but service is great, right? When you're in compliance, you're good, but you're never going to achieve greatness as long as you just comply, right? And so in that regard, good is the enemy of great. Because once you've checked your box, you're going to be more inclined to just sit and wait for the next thing that you have to comply with. And that's not how greatness is achieved. All right. And so that's the basis of our lesson today. And before I go into it, allow me to introduce myself. This is the Orisha Lifestyle Academy, and I'm your instructor, Obafemi Origunwa. And today's lesson is all about stopping asking questions. Stop asking questions, right? And this is contradictory to what most teachers would demand, right? Questions are generally helpful, but right now, what I want you to do is I want you to put a stop on questions. In exchange for that, I want to give you some ideas for what other things you can do instead of asking questions, and why asking questions is sometimes problematic, especially within the practice of Orisha lifestyle. Now, let me give you an example, just so you understand exactly where I'm coming from. There's a verse of Ifa that tells of a time when Orunmila was doing such phenomenal work as a Babalawo. He was healing the sick and rescuing people from death. And his reputation was renowned all throughout the kingdom. People were talking about Orunmila's exploits everywhere. And it got to the point that Orunmila's reputation even reached the ears of Iku, death himself. And people were saying that Orunmila was greater than death, that Orunmila was able to change the date that death could take people. And Iku couldn't take that. And so Iku opened up a challenge to Orunmila. And he said, "Orunmila, you're going to meet me in 16 days in the marketplace, and it'll be a duel. If I can kill you, then obviously I'm more powerful. But if you can avert death, then obviously you're more powerful, and I will concede to you." And so everyone heard this because it was done out in the open. And so the days were passing, and Orunmila was quite shaken because he had not meant to challenge Iku in that way. Just that his reputation had, won him that honor. So one day, Orunmila's wife, Ashunleo was at the river washing. And who comes up to the river to bring her clothes to wash? Aaron, sickness, the wife of death. And because she was sickness, every time she would approach, all the other women would give her distance. They would stay away from her. They didn't talk to her. They didn't look in her direction. As soon as they recognized it was her, it was like, boom, ultimate cold shoulder. Who wants to be around sickness? Nobody. But for whatever reason, Ashunleo was warm. She didn't move. She stayed right where she was, and she allowed Aaron to come up and wash her clothes pretty much right beside her. And as they were there, Aaron said, I recognize you. You're Ashunleo. You're Yakpete of Orunmila. Ashunleo said, yes, that's right. And I recognize you too. You're Aaron. You're the wife of Iku. She said, yeah, that's right. And Aaron said, our husbands are going to have a duel in a few days. And Ashunleo said, yeah, I know. It's very unfortunate. And because Ashunleo had been kind and compassionate, Aaron said, listen, I'm going to tell you something. The battle that Orunmila is facing is not like he thinks. It's not like anybody thinks. There won't be any swords. There won't be any hammers. There won't be clubs. There won't be spears or anything like that. It's going to be a battle of the wits. Ashunleo just listened. She says, listen, this is what's going to happen. Iku is going to present 3 large clay pots, 3 vessels, about 3 feet tall each. One will have the legs of a paralyzed man. One will have the shoulders and the body of a hunchback. And the third will have the head of an insane man. If Orunmila can properly identify what's in each of the containers, he will win the contest. And so, Ashunleo was very surprised. She thanked Aaron, finished her laundry, and went home to tell Orunmila, Baba, I have some phenomenal news for you. And she explained to Orunmila what was going to happen. And so, a couple of days later, the contest came. Now, Orunmila was going to face Iku. And so he packed up his belongings, got his divination instruments. Ashunleo, wished him farewell, and Orunmila went on his way. At that point, Ashunleo had complied. Right? She was in compliance. She did what she needed to do. But something in her spirit stirred her and said, there's more though. I need to do more. This isn't enough. And so after Orunmila had taken off, Ashunleo got herself ready and took off following Orunmila, double stepping all the way until Orunmila was more than halfway to the home of Iku, and she caught up to him. She said, Orunmila, wait. Orunmila, wait. Now Orunmila turned and he saw Ashunleo and he says, what are you doing? She says, something told me that I should accompany you. I want to make sure that everything goes exactly as it should go. I'm here with you to the end. And so Orunmila says, okay, that's a very good job. Thank you. Let's go. So they showed up at their destination. And sure enough, it was exactly as Aaron had said. Iku was there and he had 3 huge earthen pots. So Orunmila sat down and they went through the pleasantries of greeting one another, and boom, the contest was on. And so Orunmila pulled out his opele. He cast Ifa, as he was going to guess what's inside each of the pots. The Odu appeared. Orunmila looked, and he says, Orunmila had forgotten what was inside the pots. He said, Iku, you give me child's play. We're here for a duel to the death, and you present me with such a simple puzzle. Listen, I'm going to tell you, this Ifa is so simple, so elementary. I'm not even going to interpret it myself. I'm going to hand it over to my wife, Ashunleo, and she's going to tell you exactly the answer to your question. She's going to solve your riddle as if it were, you know, she was making breakfast. Iku and everyone looked at Orunmila, and she very quietly stood up and started to speak. She said, Iku, in the first container you have the legs of a paralyzed man. In the second container you have the body and the shoulders of a hunchback. And in the third container you have the head of a madman. Iku was shocked. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. They opened the containers, and sure enough, it was exactly as Orunmila had said. And so Iku had to bow down and say, Orunmila, if your wife can do such incredible feats as this, it surely is a reflection on your greatness. From now on, I yield to you. It is true. You are the one who is great enough to avert the day of death. Ashe. But in reality, it was Orunmila who went beyond compliance and was geared toward service that allowed Orunmila to achieve greatness. Okay? And so compliance will allow you to just, cross your T's and dot your I's. Service will have you put everything into a nice folder and make a PowerPoint presentation and have it there, a week early to give to your instructor, if it were, or your boss or the manager, because you understand that they're going to make this presentation to the regional managers, or they're going to present this at the county fair or whatever. Service is where you understand not only what is being asked of you, but you give thought as to why this is being asked. You get some understanding of the gravity and the importance of the function of what you're doing, and you do everything you can to make it the best that is possible, not only for you, but for the people who you serve. Okay? If you have a teacher, what does your teacher want? Well, your teacher wants you to do well, but your teacher also wants to look good. Make your teacher look good. Make your teacher look great. Right? Present an image that says to the whole world, my goodness, I have the best teacher in the world. It's like when you're a parent and your child may act crazy at home with you, but you send them off to someone else's house, and then you go to pick them up, or they bring the child back and they say, this child is a model child. I love your child. But you feel super proud because your child has honored you by making you look good. You may not have your stuff all together. You're not a perfect person. You're not a perfect parent, but your child has presented herself or himself in a way that reflects that they have been trained. Okay? And so that's going from compliance to service. It's an example. These are simple things. And so when you are in a position where you want to acquire some skills, you want to do some work, right? I want to encourage you to sit down and think about why you're doing what you're doing. Who's going to put their hands on it? Who's going to see it? Who do you honor? Who do you serve in this moment? And how can you make yourself the best example of their greatness? How can you be a reflection of a greater greatness? How can you be a reflection of the greatness of Odisha? How can you be a manifestation of the greatness of your ancestors? How can you be an exemplary representation of the power of Odi? How can you do that? That's what your mind should be focused on. Not just compliance, but actually serving through your presentation, serving through your skills, serving through your effort and your contribution. You add value to every place that you go to, and that shows greatness, and it makes an aura of greatness that is associated with wherever you come from. Okay? And so I want to encourage you to, maybe you do have questions, maybe you have doubts. Okay, so let me give you some actual strategies or tactics for when you do have doubts. You don't know all the answers. You are wondering, what am I supposed to do next? Before you raise your hand, before you ask a question, okay, I want you to look at the situation, and I want you to search for those answers. Search. Look wherever you can. Ask other people. Look, you know what I mean? Look to other people who you know are also doing what you're doing. Ask them. I think this is what we're supposed to do. Is that correct? Right? Look at the resources that are given with whatever you're doing. Are there instructions? Try them. Try them twice. Try them 3 times. Give it a shot. Okay? And so if it comes to the point that you do have to ask a question, let me tell you my personal preference. Before you ask me a question, I'm going to be more inclined to answer it if you can tell me, hey, bye, listen, I know that this is what I was supposed to do. I tried this first, and this is the result I got. I tried this second, and this was the result that I got. Then I tried this, and this was the result that I got. But none of those are what I'm looking for. What am I missing? Then I can tell you, okay, you were close. You were in the right area, but you omitted something. This is how it goes. Right? That's the habit that I want you to start to cultivate to move toward greatness. Okay? And once you have that basic tactic in place of really trying to find the answer on your own, then you come to the part that I was alluding to earlier, which is you think about, why am I being asked to do this? Who's going to look at this? Right? Who's going to make use of this? Why do they need this? If you're giving something to me, ask yourself, what is he going to do with this? Why does he need this? What could possibly come of this? Right? How is this information going to be beneficial to him? How can I make this information beneficial to him? Hey, I'm turning this in. You know what, Baba? I'm going to submit this to you, and I realize in the process of doing it that this could be a template for something greater. What if we do this and this and this so that, this single project can become something bigger, right? These are the ways that we move from compliance to greatness, because the situation that we're facing does require greatness. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're in the process of restoring the African mind. We're in the process of grounding and recontextualizing African identity. We are in the process of helping our people to fulfill their destiny and deliver on their ancestral promise. It's a monumental task. Mere compliance isn't enough. Everybody can't just comply. It's a good start, but it's not enough. I need you to put your back into it. I need you to lean all the way into it. I need you to catch the vision and understand that this is serious. This is not entertainment. And give everything you possibly can to make it easier for me to do my job, for me to show up and serve in the capacity that I am chosen to serve. Okay? So if you have any doubt, understand that that's why we're moving from good to great. And we can't settle on compliance. We have to serve. Aboro aboye. Aboshishe.